you know that we've been here at Rouge. Today we are at Genk. It's not called Genk. We should stop calling it Genk. It's Genk.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's Genk.
It's Genk.
Genk. Genk.
But Genk is better than Yank.
Okay. So Genk.
Sorry, but
It's all good.
Where Rouge builds the rigs. But what we want to discuss today with Kurt is what we've been in conversation during these days is sim racing versus the feeling in real racing, in a real racing car, kart, rally. Well, I don't know if you have experience with rally. I don't think so. But you have experience with racing cars and racing karts. So what is your take on that?
that we can talk about it for hours.
Perfect. We'll turn it into a podcast.
If we, yeah, exactly.
No one will complain.
No, if we turn it into a one-phrase answer, that's gonna be: is simulator gonna help you be better in real life? Yes, definitely, but probably not in the way a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, use two sentences then.
I'll say, well, we can clip that, and that can go on the shorts.
Exactly.
See the full video below.
So where does it help?
Maybe let's start with where does it not help, or what's the most difficult? You said before feeling, and that's probably where it's the most difficult. If people expect, I'm sitting in my sim rig, I close my eyes, switch to the car, I find exactly the same thing, the same feeling. That will most likely not work. But that won't work if you're on a 300 euros rig, that won't work if you're on a 10,000 euros rig, and that's not even working if you're on a 3 million F1 simulator. That's not what it does, and that's not what it's supposed to do. You can get close, we can talk about that later, but in a standard software, that's not going to happen. Where it does help is, well, learning the track, of course. We've done that. But it's not just knowing if it goes left or right. It also depends, of course, on the software and how well it's modeled.
Breaking points, throttle points.
Exactly. Experimenting with different lines, different weather if you want. So that's one. The other one is, as you know, at Rouge, we got into the simulator business actually from the motorsport side, much more than from the gaming side, with Tom, our founder, having experience up to Formula 1 as a race engineer. So a lot of our drivers come from that network, come from the motorsport side. What we see there a lot is youngsters, karting drivers. They still have the basics to learn. So what they will learn on a simulator is be consistent, do the same thing every lap, over and over again, is learn racecraft, learn to drive in traffic. And something that was not really on the radar when we started this, but that actually more and more people are doing is, especially with the youngsters, we see a lot of those guys, a lot of talent. They start the weekend, they're up there, close to pole or on the pole, and then during the weekend they gradually decrease in performance. And why? Because they don't have the physics. So a lot, and it actually started with a customer of ours, a German karter. His dad basically turned the SimiCube completely up. 25 Newton meters, much more than the
It's
cars.
something that I'm going to do when I'm home,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
based on my experience yesterday with the.
But not for the
Cup.
same reason. He did it because 25 Newton meters is a lot more than any kart in whatever condition. It wasn't to be realistic. It was to have the guy actually have fun and drive on the simulator, but at the same time,
exercise.
Exactly.
I mean, that said, my shoulder is a little bit sore from yesterday. Nothing else but my shoulder.
But I might have to do it yesterday evening. That's a different story.
I won't mention my hands then.
So it's basically those things. It's learning the track, learning to be consistent. A very important one, racecraft, and then in some cases actually develop muscles. And the guy that I mentioned, the customer, he stayed as fast as he was, but he now does it throughout the weekends, and he regularly finishes top 5 in European championships. So that does work.
Yeah. And the thing is as well is that especially with all of the modern safety, like my real racing career is from 15 years ago. So safety, what safety? We had 4-point harnesses then. Now you've got 5-point harnesses, much bigger chairs that you sit in a lot more. You sit a lot more deeply in, and all sorts. You don't actually need the core as much as you used to, because you can just lean into the chair. That was one of the things that surprised me about the real car yesterday. Is I wasn't I am fine here. It's just my hands, but that's me holding onto the wheel too tight, and I know about that. That comes from that's something I do all the time.
But that's true. There were a couple of corners where really the G forces pushed me to the side, and I knew the chair was there, and I was like, poof, okay, I'm gonna. That's the comfort of the chair, and let's keep it that speed, and let's keep that corner.
See, I was using my karting experience and trying to lean into the corner.
But you don't. Your weight is not gonna do that much in a fun cup. In a kart, it's gonna be doing something.
You say that. I got an opportunity to go out on my own, and the speed difference. Like I know that lightness is good. That's basic physics. You don't need to be out of secondary school to be able to know that. But not having the instructor, the owner of the car next to you.
And on the outside of most cars.
Yeah.
Because it would have been different if it would have been a left-hand drive car. You would still have felt the difference. But not as pronounced as you felt it yesterday.
Yeah.
Because you're now, basically the weight is where it has to be on the inside.
Yeah, I was going to say, the weight is on the center of the car when you turn in, as far as the center of mass is concerned. So yeah, it was game-changing. And I'm now considering if I can wrangle getting the spare wheel out of my car.
Okay, coming back to the conversation of sim versus real racing, one thing that I wanted to ask you is, what was the most positive surprise for you, and what was the most negative surprise in the comparison?
I have to totally rethink my estimation of steering weight. If the car doesn't have power steering, and this is whatever car you're driving, if it doesn't have power steering, the higher direct drive that you have, the better. Like there is no upper limit to that. Because I mean the other thing as well, and I think I said in the video yesterday that we did yesterday afternoon, was the positive correlation between the tire behavior in R Factor 2 and I think iRacing now versus the real life tire behavior has absolutely reaffirmed for me that, at least in those very specific instances, I was able to adapt a lot better because those models are a lot better. As far as the negative surprises are concerned, I was expecting the Simuku pedal to be better calibrated. Is precisely the wrong word for it.
Nearer to what we had in the car.
Well, it was only after we were talking, after I'd actually been in it, and you said about Asetek, of course, it doesn't have the data to be able to put a good feeling in there.
The brake pad.
Yeah. And the brake pedal was very linear, which obviously, it's brakes don't have those characteristics. So to have it just be essentially very linear was, but again, I don't know how much of that was either way. It took a lot of, and the other thing, braking is the thing that was the negative experience, I think, because in every sim that you go in, the advice is maximum brake, bleed off. And you can't do that in real life. Not when you're just learning a new car. That takes time. Like, even I was getting there at the end of yesterday. Again, the amount of force you have to put on the pedal to get that 100% braking force that is just a gauge in the sim. If I had put the amount of force into the pedal that I put in a sim, every sim would lock up. But on that track, on that day, on those tires, I could not put enough force onto the brake pedal to make it lock up. And that's coming from 160, 170 Ks. It was only when I turned in that I was able to get it to, but that's a totally different physics dynamic. We're not, that's not what I'm talking about. That was great fun. But
what do you mean by 160, 170 Ks?
Into turn 1 at a speed.
Speed. I thought you were talking about kilos. But,
oh, no, I don't. Yeah, as I say, I have no idea how much force. But again, all of the sims, it's just a 0 to 1 gauge.
But that kind of, what you just said, that kind of shows the difficulty in what we said in the beginning, getting as close as possible to real life. We drove the exact same car you drove yesterday, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
Different track, different circumstances, was slightly damp. We locked up all the time. Well, I locked up. You guys driving better than we didn't, but
I did also notice.
It was really easy.
I did also notice there's a variable. There's a little dial next to the steering wheel, so it may have been that the bias
balance,
for you was way further forwards, which again would have represented in the sim. The brake balance was absolutely perfect for me.
But then you get into the next step of, if you want to make it closer to real, and we've done that in the past, but there is a cost associated with that, is ideally what you do then is you're going to drive that car, somebody who knows how to set up a rig, or somebody who knows how to drive that car, drives the car, gets into the rig. We've done that in the past. We've done that specifically for a starting LMP3 driver. We've invited 2 other people with LMP3 competition experience. They both made a pedal profile, and we basically mixed them and took an average of that. And that's what we trained a Belgian driver on. Took, if I remember correctly, around 20 hours of coaching before going to the Winter Cup in Spain, Aragon. And when he arrived at Aragon, he was within half a second of his teammate, who was the reigning champion. But again, there is a lot of preparation in there. So you can get there. And if it's with the right simulation, with some simulators, you will never get there. With some, you will. And it's not about this game or that game. It's about this car. Well, that game is going to be the fastest or the best for that. But again, there is effort, hence cost involved.
So at the end of the day, what we're saying is, for pro training, if you are specializing in one type of car, and then you set up all the gear for that type of car, and you use the sim that supports that type of car best. So for professional training, pros are going to get a lot of mileage out of that, pun intended. You and me, for example, won't, because we drive one car here, one car there, this sim here, this sim there, and so on. And we can get a general near feeling, but we won't get that much training out of it.
The other thing as well is that it's more specific than that. It's not if you drive P3s. It's not if you drive P2s, hypercars, GT3s. If you drive
that specific,
if you drive the number 50 Ferrari 499P, the 51 is going to be different. You need to be set up for a specific car.
And with what you did yesterday, it's even worse, because now you're talking the top level of motorsport. But when you go into those kind of grassroots, like Fun Cup used to be, it's not really anymore, but drive 3 different Fun Cups, and they will feel different.
Yeah. So there's limitations on what simulators can do, and then stacked on top of that, you've got the sample of how have they modeled that car. And there's only so much money that you can throw at a certain problem, especially if we're talking about things like free mods.
Yeah, absolutely.
and things like that, especially with Asetek cores. I think the biggest thing that I liked about the FunCut mod was the pre-lockup squealing that you got. I think that's probably the best implementation in an Asetek course mod that I've ever seen. Before you lock up, there is an audible, as you do in real life, the tires start to complain. It doesn't represent in the handling, but that I've done enough racing to know if the tires are going, just let off the brake a bit.
As long as the tires are screeching, you are safe. Be scared when they stop screeching.
When they start chittering at you, that's when you got problems. But yeah.
So that's a good famous last word. Any famous last word from you regarding that conversation?
Like I said, still have hours to go, so I'm not ready for final words yet.
Buy an Rouge rig.
Right. So that would be it. Thanks. Tell us in the comments what you think after watching this video. I suppose it's going to be only one video, but we're going to see. Let me sit at the cutting software. Let us know in the comments what you think, where we are thinking wrong or where we are thinking right. And until next time, save fuel, collect pickup, and we'll see each other at the podium. Bye.